like to call to order the Conservation Commission meeting for June 27th, 2016. Are there any non-agenda items or concerns?
Go ahead. You go first. Go ahead.
Evening. Mark Reed, Heritage Surveys. I'm here tonight to talk to the board briefly about an RDA filing for a new solar project that is being proposed for Williston at 198 Park Street. We had an NRAD to confirm the wetland boundaries on the site so that the majority of the work is just touching into the buffer zone. We're going to maintain a 75-foot buffer from any of the wetland boundaries that are shown, including the two replication areas that are part of the Williston Cross Country Course project for that. And I would like to know if we could schedule it for the July 25th meeting. We will file all the RDA filings on your 11th, July 11th meeting.
Now, some of us have done a site visit on this site, so I don't know if there's anyone who thinks they want to go back out there and take a look at it.
So this is the access road into Wakebrook Middle School. Just to the north of it, used to be owned by the Lively's. The house has been removed, which is well outside the buffer zone. In the barn. Sheds that have been falling down.
So the panels have been close
Yeah,
to
close
Park
to,
Street.
yes. So what they've done is push the panels close to Park Street to get it as far away as possible from the wetland boundaries.
And then mayor meetings.
Yeah, so there'll be some trees along Park Street that will have to come down for that purpose.
All right, so you're looking to get on the agenda for the 28th?
25th meeting.
25th.
Yeah, 25th meeting, and we'll do the legal ad, so it'll be published on it before the week before.
Okay.
The other is stormwater. I had spoken to Melissa because we don't have any point source discharge nor new impervious surfaces at the ground surface, because it's all going to be maintained as a grass area. That we requested a waiver on stormwater. So that'll be part of the application that we come before the board with.
Okay.
Okay?
That's how the Oliver Street line for one too, way back when.
That one, okay. So that's all I have on this?
On this subject.
Yes. I'll be back. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Mark.
You're up, David. You have David? Okay.
Yeah. In 2007, the Bay State Gas got an order of conditions from the Conservation Commission for LNG facility on Route 10 on our property. They have been vacated in 2012. So how do I go about getting a certificate of compliance?
Was that anything you were involved with?
No, I think that was before.
All our time, so I guess we're going to have to try to pull that file and.
I don't think you have that file, so I'll give you a copy.
Okay, that'd be fantastic. Is that one of the missing files?
I don't know what's missing.
Okay.
So is any work completed, or?
Yeah, they pulled out, but all the players are involved are moved on because it's Columbia Gas and it's been bought out twice. So it's going to be up to me one way or another to chase it.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we'll have to.
Yeah,
Are there plans or anything?
I think so. I'll dig in our file.
Okay.
If you could
Yeah,
email
take a look at
get
it.
us
Yes.
copies of that stuff, that would be.
Yeah.
really
There's no
helpful.
like a deadline at the moment, but I just want to get it moving.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, that's probably a better question for Melissa to be
Uh-huh.
involved with.
Thanks.
Let me just take down some of the particulars here.
Good, now you're-
Cross country.
Okay.
Any other public concerns, non-agenda items? Yes, sir.
Yeah, Jeffrey Tannett from Williston Northampton School. We have for our pond, we have a ongoing set of conditions from the board for treatment of the pond.
Okay.
Originally we had gone through, had the whole notice of intent and everything. And when we dredged the pond, that had to be closed out because Mass doesn't allow you to have two open.
I see, okay.
So the commission closed it out with ongoing conditions. So we've continued to treat under that. As part of that, we have to do testing of the pond before we treat for dissolved oxygen and everything. It's not clear from that whether you guys want copies of the reports on all of that or not. The people doing the treating, we have a separate company come in and do that. So Paul Davis from GZA has been dealing with it, and he just asked me to check to see if you want copies of all his
I
reports.
know we've asked for it with other situations that we wanted copies of it, so
Yeah.
I'll just say
It's,
yes.
yeah, it's real simple to
Okay,
just
right.
pass it on to you, but
Okay.
it just wasn't clear in the conditions.
All right, well, let's
so.
do it then.
Okay, we'll do. Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other non-agenda items?
Good evening.
Well, you're doing good tonight.
Bob Alberti. I have a building permit before the commission on Route 2 Lauderdale Road. There was some question as to where I was putting my house as it related to under floodplain. Some Mark Reed's work. Oh, yeah, yeah. And then, I know it's the back last couple of pages are better, so we pull them up a bit, so you can see. On this map, it's marked as lot 1. It's on the intersection of Conway and Loudville. The proposed house is the 100-year flood boundaries at an elevation of 144. The elevation of the proposed house is 170 to 175, so I'm over 25 feet above the boundary of the floodplain. Just wanted to bring that to the commission.
What was the address there again?
It's number 2, Loudville.
Oh, geez.
So can you show me which, where we are here?
So this is the proposed house. Okay. And the flood, the 100-year flood contour, the boundary here. Okay. This dark line. And the house is up here, so it's well above the floodplain.
And so you're working on a building permit? And
Yeah, the building permit is at the commission now.
Okay.
For your approval.
Okay. Did any other questions come out of from Melissa on the permit?
No, that was-
144,
Okay.
and then the house elevation is.
That's correct.
No, 175 and flood, 100-year floodplain is 144.
That's right.
So, yeah, Melissa had pulled a copy of a plan from the intersection reconstruction project, just to check on some other things. She was looking at the different resource areas, and I think, she noticed that the different wetlands boundaries were, the boundaries themselves are well away from the project. The
Yeah.
buffer zones are also
Absolutely.
well away from the project.
Correct.
Yeah, so,
But she's the one that's going to sign up on the building permit. I think she has access to the new system
Yeah.
at this point, so
Yeah, I think
that's
so.
an issue too.
yeah, okay.
Okay.
So we'll put that in minutes, and then she'll take care of it.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Great,
Thank you.
thanks.
Yeah, this wetlands over here, and then some others over that way a little bit. To follow.
And we're outside it looks like we're outside the 100-foot buffer for the ones you.
That doesn't have a buffer here in Easthampton.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be a bylaw that some towns might have. We don't have that.
All right, other public concerns, non-agenda items.
I'm not sure if mine is a public concern
Okay.
still, or I had come 2 weeks ago regarding the potential environmental violation in my neighborhood.
Mhm.
So is that an agenda item now, or do we discuss that?
I don't know if it made it on the
It's
agenda.
under
Is it?
enforcement orders as a potential.
Which one, B? Oh,
It's
yes.
E.
C, okay. No,
E.
E, 6, okay, there we go. All right, that's correct. And we were supposed to be looking into something on that as far as the pipe connection to the possible isolated wetland, that could make it a non-isolated wetland. But I don't know where we are on that.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. There was a discussion on this at the last meeting?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So when we did a site visit, it looked like the area in the front lawn was just an isolated wetland. It had barriers around it to protect it. But when we did site visits, I don't think we looked and noticed that there may be a pipe connecting it to another wetland, which would make the wetland connected and not isolated. But we didn't go any further than that, as far as I know.
Yeah.
I have, we had a flooding problem at the property several years ago,
Right.
and as part of that investigation, I have video that was taken of the pipe. I don't know if any of that's gonna be helpful as far as location, if
Certainly
Fletcher
any
Drain was
information
called in.
that would help us identify the location. And if I have your permission to go on your property.
You have my
I
permission.
will go and look to see
Absolutely.
how, if I can locate the pipe and try to understand what's happening with it.
And what I can do, if it would be helpful, is send the commission an email, just kind of, when you get on the property, walk this way and then walk over that way to identify
Or a
where
little
our end
flag
of the pipe is.
somewhere,
Yeah, absolutely, I can do
okay.
that.
That'd be
Yeah.
fantastic,
So
okay.
Melissa, the chair, was gonna get in touch with with DEP so that she could provide that information to them about the pipe and stuff
Right,
like that.
but just without her here, I don't know if that happened or not.
Yeah.
so.
Okay. So we still have some follow-up items on
Right,
there.
so, but I'll take a ride out there this week and look at that.
Excellent.
And then hopefully for next meeting, Melissa will be here and we can see if she had follow through on her end.
Okay, you'll have an email from me tomorrow,
All right.
with some information.
All right,
Thank you very
perfect.
much.
Thank you. Any other non-agenda items? All right, public hearings. The first public hearing we have up here is a request for determination of applicability for the Silvio Conte National Fish and Wildlife Refuge chestnut removal. You look at your
That's
uniform,
me.
so it looks like you're
Thank you. Yes, the Conti Refuge, which is U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and
Can you state your name?
sure, I'm Cynthia Bettner.
Okay,
I'm a
Cynthia.
biologist with the refuge, and the refuge and a number of cooperators and partners have been working to try to keep water chestnut, an invasive aquatic plant, from taking over the Connecticut River watershed.
Mhm.
Has the potential to entirely cover shallow, still water bodies. So, because this is a plant that can actually be controlled by hand pulling to prevent seeds from setting, we've kind of taken this on, and with a lot of help from volunteers and youth crews, we've been doing a pretty good job at it. So, Easthampton is one of the places where we've worked, and DEP has suggested that it's time we updated our permitting
Okay.
for this, so that's why I submitted the RDA. And I don't know if you all got a photo sheet at all with your copies, but here's.
I'm not sure, this came in the mail, so I'm not sure what made it to email, if people have seen that or not.
So that's kind of the upper right-hand corner is what can happen if you just let it go.
So you can walk on it.
That's Log Pond Cove in Holyoke, and it's
Okay.
still a problem there, and it's cost over $100,000 to try to bring that under control with mechanical means and herbicide. A lot of herbicide goes into that every year. So,
So you're doing with pulling and
Yeah,
Riverside?
no, well,
What just happened?
there, we're only doing it with.
Hold on one second.
Time out.
Sure.
I'm not exactly sure. Uh-oh. Okay. I did something, either I did something wrong or something wrong happened to me. But it is shutting down.
Okay.
Hey. Yeah,
I could take minutes while you're waiting for that.
alright. An update notification popped up mid-sentence and that may be what it's doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's only Windows 85.
Exactly.
You think you're being efficient and so anyway, in Easthampton, Mashawanet Pond, Lower Mill Pond, Rubber Thread, and
The Williston Pond.
the Williston Pond, although we've never found anything there, we've checked it a few times and have never found anything there, thank goodness. But just to show you how effective it can be, we found like 1 pound in rubber thread in 2005 and we pulled it out. My guess is that was the very first plant ever found there,
Okay.
and we haven't found it since. Nashawanek, on the other hand, had 8,000 pounds, so 4 tons the first year we were out there. We had a lot of community support, a lot of volunteers came up from the community. And it's been going up and down, but really continuing to go down to the point now, but this is after dredging too. We really haven't found much there. And there's a man who lives on the pond who's been really nice to take it out and,
That must be Gary.
no, his name is John O'Donnell.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, we are hoping that you'll want to have us keep going with this, and, the, Department of Conservation and Recreation did some, guidelines for hand pulling of invasive, so we pretty much follow those guidelines. And DEP concurred that those were amenable to them, so, they, in the last page of the RDA, it has a letter from Weldon Langley from DEP, who says that, if the protocol is followed and the infestation is less than 5,000 square feet, that he recommends a negative determination of applicability is, likely to be appropriate.
Alright.
How many square feet?
5,000?
So just so you're aware too, the city, through its pond committee, is doing some vegetation management this summer. So there's, I think, herbicide application scheduled for July 6th.
Where is that?
I don't have that information with me, but I mean, it'll be Nashawanet Pond. I don't know how much of the pond they're doing off the top of my head, but they have 2 herbicides that they're planning to use to target more of the submerged aquatic vegetation, but I think they've also mentioned that they would hand pull the water chestnut if they came across it.
Oh, great.
Yep. So, and that's kind of Gary Golis, who's been our contact on that. So I let him know that you were going before us with this RDA also.
Great. So is Gary, is he on one of the ponds? He's a
I think he's
landowner or
on the
something?
pond, he's a committee,
Okay.
National Water Pond Committee.
And then they bring in a company to do the.
Correct, to do the actual
Yeah.
application.
Yeah, for some reason I thought he lived on the pond, but he actually doesn't.
He
That
lives
was,
off of,
He lives next to
yeah, he lives, but, yeah,
next to Mother
Street,
Fields.
that's right. I don't know how I get that mixed up. but-
His childhood home was next to the pond.
Oh,
Well,
that's
that
right.
must be it.
Yeah.
It was sold.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's scary how you get to know these after a while.
Well, that's good to know, because we
Yeah.
wouldn't want to be out there during the application.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Or
I,
soon thereafter, and maybe it's not necessary.
yeah, he said that,
Alright.
he said that he's been out, you know, he's been doing some vegetation surveys and planning for those projects. And he kind of keeps his eye out for water chestnut. I think he said he pulled a little bit out, but hasn't seen much of it lately.
Right.
And he's gonna be going out again pretty soon to do some dissolved oxygen tests, so, yeah.
Sounds like I should get his contact
Yeah,
information.
we can forward that to you,
Great.
yeah.
Put that in the minutes then to
Yes,
kind of pick that up.
it's a fun nice place here.
Back into the 20th century.
Yeah, so I have to start all over again with that.
Yeah, I think there were 3 spots on the pond there.
For various things.
Yeah.
Also not the whole thing.
Yeah, I don't have the
Yeah,
book. The book
it's-
was a pretty thick book of describing the whole process and a big package, so I don't have it with me tonight.
And that's just National Line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is national.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
And it was
And into
primarily-
the tributaries that feed it.
I think so, yeah. You know, they were targeting the aquatic invasive, submerged aquatic invasives, but
Mhm.
would get the water chestnut if they came across it. And, you know, obviously have the capacity for it. Okay. Sorry, let me catch up here. So hand pulling and brought where for disposal or its ultimate disposition once it's removed?
We currently bring it to our Hadley refuge land, off of Moody Bridge Road. Before we had that property, there was a Easthampton farmer, John O'Leary, also works for the state. He was taking it for his farm. So we might, because that's handy, might go back to that. Sometimes if there's a good place to put it that's distant from a pond, you know, when we only have a little bit, we might just, as long as it's garnerable wetland pond,
Mm-hmm.
just put it out in the woods or whatever.
All right. Yeah, I guess I would, you know, it's not a pretty good case for negative determination, but for the building community.
Is that something people are comfortable voting on this evening?
Would people be going out in boats to remove some of it?
We use canoes.
Someone like to make a motion?
Do we know what type of, do we have a form, do we know what type of determination it would be?
We don't have the form.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got, we just have the request, so we don't have the other document that, where we would check the box that says negative determination of workability.
Mm-hmm.
So if we wanna wait till we have that to vote, or?
Yeah, but does it mess up a schedule if we wait until our next meeting just to go through the paperwork activity?
We'd like to have people out there kind of looking for it.
Okay. Do we have,
Responsible.
We can vote, but not for other people that can
well, we need to know how exactly we're gonna vote. Do we, is this thing on the internet here, Jay?
Yeah, it is,
Okay.
there is an email with it.
It's not this big of a.
No, I'm looking for the determination of
Yeah,
feasibility
I wish
form.
I had, but some of the other towns, how they had rated it, but I don't have that.
We're so dependent on our share that
Yeah.
it's not here. It all falls apart. Everything falls apart. I'll go to the DEP website now and I'll find the form, and we'll pick.
I have a copy of the form, if you'd like a copy.
Oh, you do, okay, yeah, I just wanna look at that. That would be fabulous.
So it's not the application, it's the form you fill out.
That's correct, that's
Yeah.
what we don't have.
Okay.
Right.
That could be the response.
Those are positive determinations. Do you have other pages for this?
I thought the other pages had something to do with local town bylaws. I only copied the first two, which I think provides for a negative determination.
Yeah, these all are for positive determinations.
Here, I got the negative.
You got the negative? Thank you. Okay. Okay, so I would move to issue a negative determination number 2, which is the work described in the request is within an area subject to protection under the Act, but will not remove, fill, dredge, or alter that area.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye. All right.
So we'll,
Should I make a copy of it?
No, we'll just have to, we can't.
we'll have to read up and sign it, or leave it here and we can sign it so we can get it taken care of
Yeah.
this week sometime.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Okay. You wanna, before we mix that up with something else. Thank you very much.
The next item is the request for determination of applicability filed by the Mass DOT for Interstate 91 resurfacing. So,
Okay, that'd be me. Tim Meyer, Mass DOT. I work at the Northampton office. It was nice segue, we could have just kept that. I was gonna let you know that, 3 years ago, the commission issued a negative determination for the exact same work that we applied for under this current request. Unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to finish it all. Actually, we even started it in Northampton, in Easthampton, but you may recall in Northampton, they're going to town up there a little bit. I sent an email, actually I sent a letter to Melissa and asking for either a reauthorization or her opinion, and she said no, reapply for any request. So that's what we got before the commission right now. And again, it's for work on I-91 in Easthampton. It's resurfacing and related work. It does involve some tree trimming, and I think with the new exemptions that the DEP have incorporated in the Wetland Protection Act, the majority of the work falls under those exemptions except for the tree work, because that goes beyond the back edge of the guardrail, more than 6 feet. We are going down a slope. We like to trim the trees, keep the branches away, and any trees that are leaning over, anything like that, we like to see them out in the highway, so we like to clean those up also. As I mentioned, I think it was back on like July 8th, 2013, the commission issued a negative determination for the exact same work, and we're still working under that one, but it's expiring, so we just want to basically renew it.
were there any other conditions on that one?
I'll let you take a look, but no, it's
That was July 18th, 2013?
2013.
2013, okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, the contract procedure and the bid awarding, and notice to proceed, and I think the Northern Mountain back and threw up loop into some of the stuff for the tree work, so.
Some more conditions.
I didn't see any
It's
conditions.
just a negative 2.
On that form.
All right.
Feel like I can go into it further, but,
Yeah, I guess if you could just describe it a little.
okay. Actually, the one change is, I don't know why we did this, but, previous project south of this, which was Holyoke into probably like halfway into Easthampton, that was already completed. So this is now for halfway through Easthampton into Northampton, all the way up almost to the, exit 21. But I think this determination that we have before the commission now is asking for the entire portion of I-91 in Easthampton, even though half of it was already done.
Okay, that's what you have shown in the map.
Yeah. That's the only change. Everything else should be exactly the same. Section of Interstate 91 consists of the elevated north and southbound travel lanes divided by a grass median. Section is adjacent to the Oxbow and crosses over the Manhan River. Wetland resource areas, DPW, bank of riverfront, and border land subject to flooding are located on each side of the highway. The interstate is above the FEMA 100-year flood zone elevation, and which are present throughout the Oxbow area. Riverfront areas within the project limits have been previously degraded as a result of the construction and ongoing maintenance of I-91. We gave a project description, what should be done under the contract, which again is currently ongoing, consists of roadway and resurfacing and bridge preservation on a section of I-91, northbound and southbound in the city of Easthampton, and continues into the city of Northampton. Project begins at the in Easthampton at mile marker 20.8 and extends northerly to mile marker 21.3, which is the Easthampton-Northampton town line. The length of the project in Easthampton is approximately a half a mile. The work includes adjusting and rebuilding drainage structures, installing new, replacing, resetting existing highway guardrail, installing recessed pavement markings, installing, replacing, resetting asphalt berm, granite edging, placing milling mulch under shoulders and under guardrails, for shoulders and under guardrails, safety tree trimming, clearing, and removal of roadway side slope, extending to the total slope or as directed by the engineer, installing safety controls, necessary road and sediment control measures, and other incidental items required to complete the work. And the work also includes bridge rail retrofits to the I-91 north and southbound over Manhan River, Manhan Rail Trail and the Oxbow Channel. That's East Street also. And again, we had quite a few exemptions that have, since we last filed at the DEP, and we got a list of exemptions also, which some of it is a tree trimming and some of it is activities associated with resurfacing.
How are you gonna do the tree trimming?
Usually what they do is they have a guy in a bucket. They sit up on top of the road and he kind of maneuvers around with the bucket and does the trimming that way. If they actually have to cut a tree down, they'll climb down the slope and cut it down. They'll cut it flush with the ground. They won't be grubbing or clearing or anything like that. So unfortunately, probably a few more years, 4 or 5 trees will pop out of that root. But the idea is hopefully that the over-the-guardrail mowers can take it from here and keep it down. And they are required to chip the material or chip it off, chip it into a truck to, they shouldn't be blasting it on the slopes. If the commission wants it, then we can accommodate that part.
Any questions or concerns?
I don't have any questions.
Do we have a motion?
I'll move to issue another negative determination, number 2, that the work is within an area subject to, now wait, are we in area subject to protection?
We are in the floodplain and riverfront and all that.
Yeah,
Those
okay.
are our exemptions
But it's
associated with
kind of
that.
exempted, so
Right.
does that change the?
It's probably not super critical. I'll stick with the number 2 then.
Number 2.
Yeah. The work is within an area subject to protection under the Act, but will not remove, fill, dredge, or alter that area, and therefore does not require filing of a notice of attack.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
All right.
If you wanna keep that copy, you're more than welcome to.
Sure, that would not hurt.
Especially if you need help getting it.
Yes.
Everyone's good.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, we usually hold it like this. Yeah.
Releases. Sure, please. All right, next on the.
I'm trusted. Sorry. Yeah, hold on. Adding editorial comments and cutting and pasting, typing, same thing. Okay. All right, good enough.
All right, the next item is the request for determination of applicability filed by the Easthampton Rod and Gun Club for the construction of an ADA compliant access ramp on 23 River Street.
Yeah, Ron Kozel from the Easthampton Rod and Gun Club, and we would like to put a new handicap ramp on the side of our clubhouse. And we had filed some plans and a narrative. However, since the last 2 weeks, we came up with a more detailed plan and more detailed narrative, which that is there. It's very similar to the other one. And here. I don't know how many plans you want of it, but that one there
I can
shows.
share that.
That's the latest one, and the only difference is that we added the erosion control hay bales around the project. Other than that, it's the same plan that I
This is the street
submitted.
here, okay, and this is the water here.
23 River Street.
Okay.
So I guess we're gonna request a negative determination of applicability tonight.
On that first page of the revised narrative, there's the outline of the revised, of the work that's proposed. The work hasn't changed from the initial application, except for the addition of the hay bales. And the hay bales will not only serve as act as an erosion control barrier, but a work limit line.
Okay.
It's clearly stated within that revised narrative, there'll be no fill brought onto the site.
Okay, so can you just go through this, the construction of the ramp, what you're gonna build it, and how you're gonna
If
build
I
it?
could, my name's Tom Orzak, I'm a member of the Conservation Commission, excuse me, Rod and Gun Club.
Well, we, yeah, go ahead.
The first thing is, we're gonna install the budded hay bales from here. You have your pictures,
Yeah,
Ron?
yeah, I got pictures.
This is the area, up ramp, a flat piece, continuing up. There is a flat landing here going into the hallway of the building. This is the stairway. There's presently,
This is all existing, right?
this, yes, but it's going to be upgraded. It's going to
Has to
be,
be
the
changed.
concrete is going to be removed. And that will be a wooden structure.
And so how are you building all this? Is that concrete also?
These are all of the materials are accounted, all lumber materials
Okay.
and Trex. So it'll be a decking.
So it's decking?
Yes, it will not be a solid structure. There are 14 piers that will be put in place. And I'm going to show you on the bottom side. This is a cross-sectional view. There'll be 14 piers here.
So you're just gonna put the tubes in and pour them?
Yes, and they'll be
Yeah, so just-
flat with the existing ground, there'll be no additional concrete. And then the 4x4 structurals timbers will be coming up.
And just, you're just gonna hand dig or drill these, auger these holes?
We will cut through the concrete.
This is all concrete.
Oh, I see.
So we cut holes in it and we'll pour the new, what we take out, we're gonna replace with concrete flush.
Okay.
Existing patio.
Code is 4 foot deep, so we have to drill them.
Right, just, you know,
Drill them
be
out.
down that far. Right. And this whole property is in 100-year floodplain also?
Yes. So the first thing we do would be put in the hay bales. But hay bales.
Here like this.
We have, can you bring the pictures?
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna go around
There's
this.
you'll see a stump there, a decomposing stump, that is in the way of, would be about,
It's approximately right about over here. And this is a retaining wall here. There's land slopes down this way to the edge of the water.
so we remove the stump. We're gonna be a minimal removal of concrete at each location of the 14 posts. They're gonna go. We're going to remove this concrete stairway, which is here. Installation of the primary clubhouse stairway, which would be this, the installation of this. Then the construction of the ramp superstructure. And the installation of the lower pad access.
Okay.
This stairway will be moved to here if it's serviceable.
This is the stairway that we see in one of the pictures.
Yes, that's the one you see right now, we're just gonna move it over to this location. Steel.
From here to here, except for where that stump is, it's concrete.
Yeah,
Up to the edge.
this is all concrete patio here. And this is the approximate mean water level in the summertime, you know. Pretty much most of the time unless there's flood conditions.
So the hay bales are all, that's all set up on concrete?
Yes.
They won't be staked, they'll be butted and tied together. The Rod and Gun Club considered the work to be redevelopment of a previously developed area to improve existing conditions.
Any of the material, the soil you're gonna remove material, is gonna be taken off the
The
property?
concrete will be removed.
Well, the concrete and whatever.
And the
you're
soil.
removing
That's
from the
right.
soil
Yes,
for the
right.
sonotubes.
That'll be removed somewhere else above the floodplain. Not on our.
Just so it doesn't
not on
run
our
back
property.
into
Yeah,
Knoxville.
that's right, yeah.
Is there any other issue with adding physical material to a 100-year floodplain to remove material someplace else to allow for the volume of what we're adding?
They have the calculations right
They have
here.
the calculations, okay.
There'll be a net gain of 31 cubic feet
Okay,
of flood storage
Yep.
by
okay.
removal of this concrete stairway and removal of the stump. The loss of flood storage and the chain flood is the timbers that are essentially going to be used
Okay.
to support the ramp. The club has been looking at alternatives for years, trying to figure out where we're gonna fit this in. We were hopeful of trying to get in here, but there's a property line issue,
Okay.
and there's no space here. There is a ramp here now, and it's not gonna be touched, but it doesn't meet federal or state standards.
Right, and our present main entrance too is a problem. We've got a lot of, approximately 40 life members and some other guys that are old and they're having a tough time getting up. It's a big step, right? The new proposal will be a flush entrance into the front door there. The existing steps, as you can see in the photos, does not comply with the building codes or anything, but it was poured decades ago. So we've been living with it, but we want to change it so it's safe. It's like a safety issue. Somebody might get hurt on those stairs, so this is why we wanted to move. Instead of putting the ramp on this side, we decided to go on this side because we could kill two birds with one stone by fixing up our main entrance and make it accessible. So we have several handicapped people that come down.
Am I understanding it right that the ramp will start like here and then move around that grassy area?
Okay, there's another picture which better shows.
I think I see all of them, right?
Now, this is the edge of the boat launch. Everything is going to take part. The boat ramp that goes down the river, everything take place on the other side of this wall here.
So on the other side of that cone as well?
Yes.
Okay.
So I guess I'm wondering, like, will it go through this grassy area? It sounds like it won't go through the grassy area, but it looks like it will.
That's, the stairs are going to be dropping off right there. Yes, there's a picnic table right there.
So the picnic table will still be there? Is that what you're saying?
No, the picnic table, not, that's
Okay.
where that's where the ramp is.
Part of the ramp will be there, the picnic table's gone.
And that was, there's concrete pad all around. What was there was an enormous tree that rotted. It has been, I don't know how long ago that came down, but
4 or
the
5
stump,
years ago,
the stump has been, you know, rotted, so we cut it off ground level, but really, there's nothing there, it's surrounded by concrete.
So the piers, like underneath that, the piers will go into concrete?
Right.
Okay.
all the piers will be flush with the ground, or either the ground, or in the case of where there's a concrete slab there, which is most of it, it'll be flush with that slab for maintenance purposes.
So the cubic footage volume is the volume of, water that's displaced by whatever structure there is there. So
Okay.
that's a floodplain performance standard. Whereas with the riverfront area, that's a square footage thing. But since, would take the interpretation that the whole area is previously disturbed, and so that's how we meet the riverfront performance standards.
How soon are you thinking of working on this?
That-
How soon are you thinking of doing this project?
We'd like to start as soon as possible.
It's the intent to make sure it's finished before winter.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to, we have some talented guys in the club that are contractors, and we're gonna try to do it ourselves.
Free labor?
Yeah, well, maybe not free, but, it'll
Rules of the
take
weekend.
time because they all work, so it's gonna be kind of a weekend, evening thing until it's finished.
That's good. Any other questions on this?
Not from me.
Does anyone think they want to do a site visit for this project?
I guess I'd just
Be
be thinking
glad to
about.
accommodate any site visit.
So we talked about this informally one time
Correct,
before,
yeah,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
But this is the formal, do we have the RDA in our hands?
Yes.
Yes.
We have, okay.
Yeah, I guess I don't feel like I need to see the site.
No, I mean, it's
Pictures and
already
some
disturbed,
plans
it's
and
not like,
everything. Yeah, my only thought would be that we just put on our usual, 48-hour work.
correct.
Start notification to look at the hay bales or whatever.
Any other requirements? I mean, you're gonna store the material that's moved off-site from the drilling of the holes in the concrete.
Yeah, it'll be off-site.
Yep, that's all described in here, right? So we can have this in the file along with it.
So that narrative would supersede the earlier one, and this
It's
plan.
essentially the same,
Yeah.
except it's got hay bales at the work limit line to,
Mm-hmm. All right.
So I think,
We have extra plans too. if you need.
I think that's just,
Yeah.
so I think this 48-hour notice will be for the hay bales, if that's what we need. For the 90 consent. So does someone want to make a motion?
You guys all set? So, I'm not handy RDA for, flexibility form.
This is
So let's see which one of these allows the conditions to be applied on.
If you need them, you can keep them.
Put them in the file, sure.
I think in the past, maybe we've called it just a number 2 with permission.
Yeah, it's probably, yeah, the number three is only for work in the buffer zone. That's the only one that seems to really allow conditions, so just do number 2 and then have that condition on there. Okay, so I'll move to issue negative determination of applicability. Number 2, the work describing the request is within an area subject to protection of the act, but will not remove, fill, dredge, or alter that area. Therefore, said work does not require the filing of notice of intent. We would just request a 48-hour prior to work notification once the hay bale barrier is in, so that we can take a look at it.
Absolutely.
And removal, I guess is that in there, the removal of any fill,
That-
any
Yeah.
material.
That's gonna happen as soon as it comes out.
Yeah.
It's gonna go on the trailer and away it goes.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Right.
Right.
Thank you.
Again, we don't have paperwork tonight, so we need copies, but we will.
How would the commission like to get notified for 48-hour notice? Email?
I think the email or the phone call is fine. Email's probably
Get all of you with the email?
Yeah.
But sometimes I'm not sure who's checking the Conservation
email.
Commission address. It may not get checked every day.
Usually Melissa contacts me and I go out and do the site visit, so.
Yeah. How have you been getting in touch with Melissa, or not?
We haven't actually.
Really,
Oh,
just
okay.
over here, you know.
Okay. I guess I would
How
email the
about Jessica, if we call Jessica's
Yeah, you could do
office,
that.
would she be able to relay it?
She would definitely relay it. That's probably the best thing to do. All right.
We'll do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, guys.
Okay, thanks. Yep.
So put the 48-hour thing in the minutes so we can transfer this into another document later.
Right. Okay. Oh, yeah. Is it warm here? It's too many.
Pressure.
It is warmer, yeah. It's been normal. Normally it's nice and
What are we doing now? Okay.
You're all set. This is a continuation of the notice of intent for the construction of a commercial property off of O'Neill Street, Roman Properties of Weston.
Evening, again, Mark Reed, there's surveys. I'd like to submit copies, hard copies of a cover letter and data and 2 sets of the revised plans that were sent by email to the commission. And yeah,
One set up.
one set up here.
I can't participate, so
We don't have form on this?
Do we not have?
because I can't be part of this one. Right?
Because you were on.
Because it predates me.
Well, I think,
You reviewed the minutes, right?
yeah, I think if you're, if you're present for more than half the meetings on something or something like that.
And you review the minutes.
And you review the minutes.
And this is not the initial submittal, because things have evolved also.
You've been at previous meetings, right? I think so.
When have we not involved you with things? I think it was when, maybe it was when you were there for like one meeting and there'd been a couple meetings or something like that.
You were here when he came and went through the conditions that were.
Yeah, I think you're
My
probably.
last
up to
meeting.
speed on it.
Well, I mean, I guess, Mark, you can go through it and then you can tell us whether you're comfortable or not with
Sure.
the information that's being presented.
This is just another copy. so we
Yeah.
can just-
Yes, yeah, this is so at the last meeting 2 weeks ago, we reviewed some of the comments from Doucette Associates and from the environmental consultant that's doing the peer review on the project. And we had discussed with the commission to address some of those items, so we have done that. Relative to the plan, the plans have been revised to show a proposed gate to cut off access to the site during off-hour periods, so that in lieu of putting fence around the stormwater basin, as we talked about before, trying to not only allow for wildlife habitat movement on the site, but for maintenance of that stormwater system, because of the remoteness and the surrounding vegetation and woods. Unlikely someone's gonna wander in there. Plus, the side slopes are a 3-to-1 slope, and it's not a very deep basin for it, so that's one of the plan changes. Secondly, we're proposing a sign being located up near O'Neill Street for the project in itself, so that that reflects on both of these sheets. Device for location for a sign being located on the right-hand side of the driveway as you're coming in from O'Neill Street. Northampton Street is up where I'm standing. Coming down O'Neill Street, down the hill, the industrial park's on the right, and then the driveway would come in here, we're proposing a sign on the right-hand side of the south side of the proposed driveway. And then lastly, on the detail sheet, changes relative to the typical section for the wetland replacement area has been revised, as well as the wetland replacement notes and vegetation. And it's kind of small in here, so I also included it in this to make it a little easier to read, especially for myself. So,
And these are the areas that Melissa had concerns about that she wanted
Correct.
to define.
correct, more definition to it, as well as some additional information relative to the wetland replacement procedure. On June 16th, Chuck Dowshy and I went out and did some hand augering. The question is whether the soils in the replacement area are suitable for wetland replacement, and that the area would support the wetland replication areas. So that Chuck did hand augering in the proposed wetland to ensure that the wetland hydrology would be successful in establishing the proposed wetland replacement areas, and that we found indications of saturated soils under the replacement areas at the same approximate elevation as the resource areas that abut the two areas. So we feel that it will have good success in that wetland replacement area. The soils, we also did a hand auger right in the wetland area and found that very identical soils in those two areas. The difference is the topography. The upland area is higher in elevation, so this detail shows that the grade would get removed and lowered to the elevation of the wetland that is adjacent to it. Be excavated an additional 8 to 12 inches below that to ensure hydrology into it, and actually trying to keep that area a little bit lower to make sure that the hydrology from the wetland resource area into the replacement area is satisfied for that. Also, within the letter, within the cover letter, there was a question on the type of vegetation to be proposed to be planted. So I did 2 sketch plans showing shrubs, proposed shrubs to be planted in the 2 resource areas. In the resource area behind the building, area number 2, we have 22 shrubs, and there's a listing on the plan of the types of shrubs that can be picked from. And that's on that 4th sheet and on the printout that we gave you. And then in the area number 1, we're proposing that there'll be 24 shrubs be planted, which is in this area here. And there's a listing of those shrubs to be picked from on that sheet.
Will it just be a mix? So like
A mix,
one of
there'll be
each
a
of
mix,
these and
there'll be a mix or availability at the time that the work is done.
So there may be
Sometimes,
some that are included.
yeah, sometimes some species are not available at certain times of year, depending on the nurseries that are, their stock products. So, for instance, we're proposing that we have dogwoods, winterberry, viburnums, high-bush blueberries, alders, pussy willows, spruce berries, red maples. There's a whole listing of probably a dozen on the plan, which are here. So I believe that with these revisions and based on our meetings to date, I believe the stormwater issues that we talked about in the previous meeting when you were here have been addressed for the project.
Do you remember, I think I understood that we requested specific elevations for each of the two areas, did you have?
Yeah, the elevations, we looked at that, and it's, unfortunately, the site is so flat through this area. It made it very difficult to pinpoint elevations. For instance, in this area, there's 1 foot difference in the elevations, and it's kind of across the replacement area. So if we show an elevation here, it's not going to be correct over here because we're going to drop a foot. Same over here. There's a contour through here. So that's why when I was speaking to Chuck about it is relative to the detail and the notes on the plan, we made it very clear that a grade at the wetland boundaries would be established to meet field conditions when we're out there. If you remember, a good portion of the wetland are a series of hummocks and tree stumps that are up and down. It's not a sloping area or a wetland that's a large body of resource areas. Right now, of course, it's very dry, but there's not a drop of water anywhere around that property. So that's why, in the details and specs, we felt that it would be better to take care of that in the field. It would be under the direction of a soil scientist such as Charles Dalshy. We probably nominate him to do the overseeing of the replacement area, along with myself, if it's acceptable to the commission.
Can you talk about the fertilizer application in the upland?
Sure. So, in the upland areas,
Is that what this is referring to?
no, this is the fertilizer mix for the
For the
wetland areas.
Oh, okay.
So the wetland area, for that. So that, from the original plans, we have altered that because we felt that, I'm sorry, there's 2 different areas. There's a category for wetlands and upland area in there. So relative to the fertilization in the wetland replacement area, there is no fertilizer being proposed, just straw mulch. In conjunction with shrubs and the wetland seed mix from New England wetland plants. The upland areas, which is the grass areas that are adjacent to it, and the berm that is around the site itself, we're proposing that an application of lime, 2 tons per acre, be applied, or 100 pounds per 1,000 square feet, which is fairly low. We don't anticipate this being a manicured house lawn. Dave doesn't want to mow it or maintain it any more than it needs to be, so. And then some 10-10-10 fertilizer or approved equal to make sure that the grass grows. When you put new grass down, you're going to have to do some type of fertilizer to get the grass to seed linen. Right now, this is really a large hemlock forest with no ground cover because there's no sunlight that gets in there. So you're going to need some type of fertilizer and lime and fertilizer to get the grass established on those slopes.
Are we worried about that impacting the bordering wetlands?
Yeah, that's a one-time application. I don't foresee, like I said, doing an annual application of fertilizers or.
And the fiber log will still be in place?
Correct. Correct. Yeah, at that time, all the erosion control barriers will be in place when that's done. Until the lawn is established, and we get permission from the commission to remove the fiber logs and or silt fence. And I believe, check my notes here. That was the last bit of information that we discussed at the last meeting.
Oh, my God.
Sorry, Mark, would you?
No, it's good. Yeah, I believe that's the last bit of information that was discussed and requested of us.
Yeah, I was just saying, maybe we should look at, we should open the minutes and see if there's something in there, because you weren't at the meeting.
Yeah.
And see if it covers all the things that Melissa had concerns with.
Sometimes I feel like just an empty shit here.
Why did you tell cross-section?
There.
Oh, an invasive species control plan.
Okay, that could be a condition of the commission. We didn't prepare one at this time, but it can be a part of the order of conditions.
Did you note, are there some on the site?
Yeah, well, I mean, this area that butts here is all invasive. Drawing blank now.
Multi-flora.
No,
Not
no.
What's it look like?
Keep on going.
The weeds, it's all grass.
Phragmites.
Phragmites, thank you.
That's right, we talked about that last time.
It's all phragmites. You know, you can't walk through this area. It's all phragmites, all the way up to Northampton Street. This area here is, we didn't see any major areas of invasive species here or here. Majority of it's right in this area here. We will definitely monitor the two replacement areas to make sure that invasives don't come into those. But if the commission would like to, you know, put that as part of the order of conditions, we can look into invasive species management of the Phragmites. But it's a large area and it's not on the site. Majority of it's on the abutting property.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll stay ahead of it.
We don't usually ask applicants to go off
Right.
boundary for something like that when they're doing the mitigation stuff.
Right. Unfortunately, they're just, it's, Phragmites are tough, you know. But, this area here, there weren't any, of course, down on the canal area, there's pretty good.
The addition of a sign is inside erosion controls?
Yes. It's between the retaining wall and the pavement,
Okay.
so on the property itself.
Okay. So, conditions would probably be,
48-hour notice and the invasive species control plan, and what else?
I guess my thinking would be post-construction monitoring of the wetland replication areas following the Mass DEP guidance document.
Right, and that's part of the NOI filing too,
Yeah, okay.
that we're referring, but that's not a problem to have that as a condition.
Is there standard conditions that are built in, or do we have to add everything?
Well, there's like 50.
Yeah, we'd have to add these three.
Yeah.
So those are all the standards, the 50?
Yeah,
Okay.
we have a lot of standard ones, we just put
Yeah.
on all the projects, and we add these on top. So that would be, you know, having a compliance monitor, nominating, having a compliance monitor, and, you know, updates during the project when things are actively going on, and all kinds of stuff like that.
What about survival conditions and vegetation coverage for the new areas? Is that covered in the?
We have an inspection, it's a 2-year inspection of the replacement area. That's part of the notice of intent and the plan. So that, to make sure that the replacement area suffices.
Yep. We also owe you stormwater
Correct,
permit,
permit.
which we usually do on these one.
Separately, all part of the, right?
Yeah, we put conditions in the order of conditions that satisfy the requirements of the stormwater management permit.
Can you do that tonight, or?
Yeah, I think so. But, the Wetlands Protection Act, the reason we do it that way is because for these projects that are just like one site, one owner, and one development, the conditions for the Wetlands Protection Act and the Stormwater Ordinance are basically the same, essentially, so it makes it easier. And so I don't think there would be anything special for that, other than that we have to make findings. Basically findings that the stormwater management plan submitted is consistent with the objectives of the stormwater permit. That it meets performance standards of the stormwater permit, which are the same as the Wetland Protection Act, essentially. And then it meets the design requirements of the stormwater ordinance, which are that same as Wetland Protection Act, essentially. So that's what that is.
Is that a separate motion that you?
That would be a separate motion, I can make that. Yeah.
You were not at the last meeting, so are you comfortable voting on this?
Yeah. Probably, I think a lot of the issues were addressed before the last meeting
Right,
anyways, and last.
Yeah, it was just Melissa's concern, and I think those were answered with the new drawing, and then the next question is whether you're comfortable with what's been presented, that you are current enough to make a decision.
Okay, hold on. Now let me get my gun straight here. Okay. So, I guess, so I'll make a motion.
Stormwater first, or?
Yeah, so I'll move that the stormwater management plan submitted is consistent with the purposes and objectives of the Easthampton Stormwater Management Ordinance. That the stormwater management plan meets the performance standards of that ordinance, and that it meets the design requirements of the Easthampton Stormwater Management Ordinance.
Is there a second on that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Passed. This is when we need that elevator music I keep talking about. Okay, there's that. Who's doing the next one?
Eric.
You wanna make a motion? Should I make a motion? Okay. I'll move to issue an order of conditions for the proposed project, referencing the current drawing submitted tonight, with the standard, Easthampton standard special conditions, plus adding conditions, that the applicant control invasive species within the.
The control plan for invasive
Yeah,
species.
yeah, the owner submit a control plan for invasive species, that wetland replication areas be monitored following the DEP, current version of DEP's guidance document for wetland replication, and a 48-hour notice being submitted prior to the beginning of construction and following the installation of erosion sediment controls. Is that how we usually do it?
Yes, I hope so.
Okay.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Thank you for your patience.
No problem.
Okay. So someone read back to me what I just said.
48-hour notice.
I'm buying the drinks.
There, Mark.
See you, David. Thank you.
You do?
Take care, Dave. Yeah, I got
Yeah.
two other
Okay,
things.
very good, thanks, Mike, appreciate it.
Talk to you later.
Thank you very much.
Good night, thanks.
Good night.
Have a good one. Yes. And the last one, that invasive.
Invasive species. You submitted and followed.
Presumably approved.
Okay. You said when that was gonna happen? Okay. All right. Good enough.
All right, so the next thing on the agenda is a request for a certificate of compliance. This is Paul Street Extension, Julian Estates. I think it was 23 Paul Street, correct?
Correct. So I have copies of I emailed the request, but I have hard copies of it to get to the commission, and stamped and signed as-built plans, which were requested. And I believe you had a site visit on Saturday?
Yeah, Saturday we had a site visit.
Actually, I have a form to sign.
Sorry.
We have a form to sign?
Here's-
Wow.
Good thinking.
Yeah, good. Oh, no, that's the application.
Oh,
I didn't.
You're
I
right,
should-
sorry.
Yeah, I
You
should
don't
have.
have the form to sign.
I should have brought the form.
just kidding.
So it was on the 20th.
Pictures.
Yeah, we did a site visit on the 25th.
Hold on. Hold on. Yep.
Commissioners Booza, Hartwood, and Ryan were present.
All right. So, which residence is this?
It's the street number's 23.
23,
Yeah.
lot number 1.
What do you think?
Oh, yeah, okay, this is the,
The
The
first.
first on the right,
yeah,
next to the red house that's at the end, where was the existing house.
Next to the dog fence.
Yes, yeah, right.
yeah. It was like one day within the last couple weeks, I came home and I like, there's been a pile of stuff all between those, you know, the red house and whatever for a while. I looked down the street and I was like, whoa. Looks different. It looks like a neighborhood.
Yeah, right.
Not a construction site all of a sudden. Anyway, okay.
So as you can see by the photos, and those are taken on the 17th, and part of my report, to my bi-weekly or bi-monthly report, you know, that the backyard is really established, and actually the jewel weed's right up to the silt fence at the top of the hill. It's growing real good. And also what Mr. Garcia did is to construct a 6-inch earthen berm along the back to make sure that, you know, during a heavy rain event, it doesn't erode over the embankment, it stays in the lawn and percolates into the ground. You know, it's all great sandy soils there, so.
I felt the site looked stable, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can do this one. Do we need to put any conditions on it?
Why don't you do it?
Right, I move to issue a certificate of compliance for 23 Paul Street, Mass DEP file number 151-269.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That one was so simple.
I feel like we always do a lot of motions when Melissa's not.
Send out for extra chairs tonight.
All right. So what do we need to do? Do we need to sign stuff? Do we have stuff to sign? We don't have stuff to sign. A lot of paperwork building up here.
Yeah, right, so it's fine to issue it at your meeting on the 11th, and then
Okay.
Melissa gets time, that's fine. Not a problem.
In other situations, we try to get together and sign things during the week, but it's, you know, time critical for someone.
Yep. Right. Okay. I'm all set.
Emergency certifications, there are none. Enforcement orders, Mr. Gall, 37 South Street, as far as I know, the pile's removed, and that's, I haven't been by there in 2 weeks. Mr. Gall off the Groveland Street, a potential enforcement order, we had not heard back, as far as I know. Melissa probably has better data on that because she was the one in contact with wetlands protection people and the forestry people.
Yep.
And that goes for the Davis, former Davis Farm at 50 Florence Road also.
Yep.
The Crown Meadow Corporation at 232 Park Street, I did a site visit with Mr. Gall a couple of weeks ago, and I didn't see anything that was out of the ordinary. There was no major tree clearing or any major disturbance. There's been vehicle activity.
Wait, which one is this?
This is this is Crown Meadow Corporation at 232 Park Street.
Okay. Yep.
So I didn't see any, there were vehicle tracks into the property and out, but there was no, disturbance that we normally see in some of these situations. So I didn't see any trees that had been newly cut. There could have been removal of trees that were, had fallen down or something like that, but no major activity.
Yep.
Is there a wetland on that property?
There are stream crossings, there's culverted stream crossings on the property in multiple locations, but there was no activity in those stream crossings like we've seen in other places, so.
You did that site visit on May 28th? Or
I could back up and find it,
this is in the minutes from last.
then that's probably when it happens,
Yes.
so.
So no updates since last meeting?
No
Okay.
Yeah, that was at 10 o'clock on the 28th.
Well,
Open space updates, anything we want to talk about there?
I just wanted to check in, so the way we left the Echo Dale Orchard parcel is that Jess Allen is gonna come up with a project bid and put it out to bid, is that what we're?
I believe
that's the
so.
next step?
I think she had spoke with the mayor was in favor of doing something, and we'll probably just wait till the next meeting when she's here to see where we are.
yeah, I mean, somebody needs to do something, like an RDA or something like that.
Yeah, someone's gonna have to file,
Yeah.
once we get into the
Yeah.
process,
Yeah.
yes.
We can wait for somebody to get accepted with their bid.
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
get some quotes and find out if it's really a project that's gonna go forward, and then decide who is gonna file, whether we can file for in front of ourselves, or whether the city's gonna file for it. Compliance updates, Mount Thomas Estates, probably nothing that any of us have heard anything. Paul Street Extension, this is the same mass filing of Paul Street, so we did the certificate of compliance. I don't know if there's anything else.
He will be building,
He did show us,
upcoming.
yeah, the corner, one of the
The
corner
corner lot.
properties, he showed us
Right.
that.
So that will be coming back, so
Yep.
I'll start doing those reports again when he starts construction on that
Yeah,
corner
no
lot.
problem.
So wait, if we issue the certificate of compliance.
It's a partial,
It's a
Yeah,
partial
for that
because
one.
right, just for that lot,
20 feet.
the file number covers all the
Correct.
houses that are being built.
Okay.
correct.
Pleasant Street Mills was paved and painted last week. They're still working on things like pavers, and they were working Saturday pounding guardrails in. I didn't see any issues with any, there hasn't been much rain, but last time it rained, there were no major issues. Nashalonic Mills, I haven't seen any activity there. I haven't been by in a week, but I didn't see any activity going on there. The Connecticut River Oxbow boating, we're still trying to wait for that project to get closed up. David Boyle at E to Z Storage, that project's in the works. It's, I checked the erosion protection, and they were all hit 2/3 as far as I know. I see work there.
When you did both facilities, did you do both of them, or just the National Pond and the Connecticut River one, or?
I just did the Oxbow ones. I think the other one's down further. I think the boat ramp is G.
Oh,
Yeah,
I remember next week.
yeah, go down a little further.
Okay,
Yeah, so Town Beach is the next one. There's no erosion issues there. The grass is coming back, and there's some cleanup that could be done, but nothing that is any risk.
mhm,
Like sediment, you know?
No, just clean. There was a little erosion before the grass took foot, and so there's a couple little bumps and things, and there's footprints where people walk through it when it was muddy, but the grass is kind of growing in on it, and it's stable as far as I'm concerned.
Is that water lean?
This could be off of Waterley.
Yeah.
Yeah, drive down, yeah. Lathrop, I haven't heard anything about their plan, that they are positioned to move forward. Butterfields at 417 East Street. We were gonna do a self-guided tour of that new proposed area where they're gonna extend the handicap accessible to the Monument Rock, or whatever you wanna
Right.
call that area.
Right.
And, so I don't know if anyone else got out there to see.
Billy, got that? Was that?
As a matter of fact, I do.
Dan wasn't,
yeah, I missed it.
yeah, he missed it. Let me just do a quick
Sure.
overview of what we're talking about here. So, currently the parking area and handicap ramp system is off of East Street. What is being proposed to be added to this filing would be a new trail extension over in this section, which I have another, I got it here, plan that Bill did. You got it? Okay. For the Stella Warnes.
Little detail, this would be the loop up in this area right here, and this is this stub that was built. So this extension here will connect it to the existing Brickyard Brook Trail system that goes onto this conservation area here.
What does that connection look like? How far down does the, stone dust structure go?
It probably goes down
Well,
20
I
feet
think
or
it's a little
so.
white painted line
Is it just the
somewhere.
one
Yeah.
painted line?
Yeah.
Yeah, it just goes into the wooded area, about 60 feet, and there's an embankment down to the Brickyard Brook. Okay, so this trail extension extends to the top of the bank for a little bit of a handicap area.
And was there a railing on the end of that also?
They'll put a guardrail there or something there. Yeah, actually, I think they decided to put posts with cable railing so that it was highly visible through, highly transparent. And then it'll kind of take off and then connect into the trail system that kind of traverses the brook, kind of comes down here, and then there's some way of getting across the brook down here someplace and everything else, and it just kind of
Yeah, the
continues on.
steps in a bridge across the brook.
Right.
One of the feeder brooks
Okay.
to the Brickyard Brook, and then it goes up to the trail along the field, the Mount Tom, Mountain View
Farms, yeah.
Farm, yeah.
Right. So, there are a couple of important features in here from historical. There's in that historical aspect, there's a bench in there that was dedicated to Stella Warnes, which is a longtime member of this Conservation Trust. There's also a boulder there with a bronze plaque in it, dedicated to members who contributed significantly to the trails and everything else. They're gonna be adjacent to the pathway. I think this past week, the trust members were out with a contractor, just kind of like detailing out exactly where the edge of the trail would be. And this trail would be constructed similar to this loop trail. So there'll be wooden chocks that will be just set on grade with the sideboards, and then in between the sideboards will just be filled with stone. So there won't be any excavation there going on. And there's one stump, old stump right in the middle of the trail that will be just ground out. But that's the concept there that kind of incorporated the memorial boulder. I think they kind of decided to skirt that a little bit, keep to one side of it rather than totally engulf it like this it shows in here. But this was just kind of a concept sketch, just to kind of give the commission members an idea.
From sort of the boulder level out to the end where it's painted, looks like it's almost a foot drop. Will that be built up so that it's level?
Well, because, yes, they can build that up a little bit, they can build it down a little bit, just to kind of level it off with these sideboards and the wood chocks and everything else, so it'll be pretty level.
Yeah, like this trail out in the field, it's elevated about 8 inches off the existing ground. So that.
But as you get near the drop off, it does drop off.
It does drop
more,
off.
so-
So what they've done in the past, for instance, over in this area, is they'll put like a double row
Of the board?
of the wood chucks that come on the bottom.
Yeah, they'll just
Fill
put
it
an
up with
extension
stone
down
and
below to
extend them
kind
up.
of make up the height if they have to, there's more than a one board height of leveling and everything else. But usually they can kind of balance it off.
And is there any additional concern when you stack them with the stone material? washing
No,
down?
because they'll extend the boarding on the side down to the existing ground, so that the stone stays in that confined pathway area.
And where they meet, is there some kind of joint or?
Yeah, there is a joint, but the underlying stone is a larger stone,
Okay.
so it's like 2 inches in size, 1.5 inches to 2 inch size stone, so it's larger in size. The stone dust that you walk on is just the top, 4 inches or 2 inches? It's just the top 2 inches for the stone dust that makes it so people don't trip.
Yeah. But the joints of the sideboards will butt at a wood chock, and they'll be, so that nothing will, the fines or anything won't escape through our joint there, because they'll be butted into a chock.
They also On top of the larger stone, we put filter fabric down.
Yeah, it's actually on the bottom.
It's on the bottom, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
we put it on the bottom
and then wrap it
because
up around the side.
we had a little bit of a budget constraint, but we decided to put it on the bottom because of all the invasive black swallow wart we got out there and everything else, and we wanted to try to protect that drainage layer from getting inundated with the invasives. So we put that on the bottom, hopefully protect the integrity of the path a little bit. And then, so the stone is on the top, and then we've got the finer on top of that stone. It is filtering down a little bit, but once some of the upper voids get filled in, it'll stop filtering down. As a matter of fact, we'll have the contractor come back and fill in a few spots that, where the larger stone is beginning to show a little bit. We'll fix them up. It's all part of the process of trying to get it right before the contractor finishes up.
And what's gonna prevent the stone dust from washing into this part of the trail?
Well, I mean, it's just a gradual slope that will come down to meet the existing grade. Some of it will just kind of fall down into it, but it's not anticipated that much is gonna happen there once it gets packed in.
You're not having experienced any other movement of the stone dust in the other
We are not,
locations?
no,
Okay.
no.
I didn't notice any.
No.
Even at the low point?
Even at this crossing right
Yeah,
here.
that crossing there is.
In that crossing? It's staying very low.
It stays pretty good. I mean, it's, you know, you might have a little bit coming down in here, but it's not enough to,
Create a gully.
yeah, to gather enough force to kind of create any kind of washout. I mean, if there is, I think the trust, this is their baby, you know, so there's ongoing maintenance and, you know, visual upkeep that's gonna be taking place, you know, constantly on this project here too, so.
They also compact the stone dust, so with a hand compactor, so it's, you know, it's pretty tight for handicap access, because you can't have, you know, loose stone dust with wheelchairs. It's gotta be pretty solid.
Is there a plan at this site for managing all of that swallow wood?
John,
What?
there's been some discussions about how to manage it, and that's,
experimenting with.
it's so extensive in there. The trust has been discussing that quite adamantly and extensively.
We're
But
gonna, we're
what's
gonna
your
go to
plan?
field shortly,
That's what I was gonna say, that would
before,
help set
before
seed.
it goes to seed.
Yeah.
Normally, wouldn't say we do that because we wanna wait till the end of the season for the wildlife habitat. But I guess we're gonna be forced to mow it right now.
It almost looks like, I didn't walk the whole circle, but it looked like most of it was concentrated at the end where the new proposals
Yeah,
are.
it's about
Does
like
it
right
go
in
through the
there.
whole thing?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
And
like-
on the other side?
Well,
as
actually, we've got some of it
There's a lot of it right there.
proliferated site down in here too.
And
I-
on, this whole bank is full of it too on the outside of the circle.
Down in here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they're more concerned about, obviously, in here and along the trail. I guess if it gets down in here, that's probably a lower priority.
I think it's just gonna reseed that
Right.
back up. You're gonna have a double of a time controlling it if it remains on the other side.
Yeah, you know, they're gonna just have to deal with it on a continual basis here and everything else. I mean, we're planning on some stone enclosed butterfly
Rock wall.
butterfly gardens, some rock walls, and, you know, we may even have a little bit of a ornamental rock sculpture in there, I don't know, just for some visual interest, so there's a lot of interest in it here, and really trying to suppress that black swallow. It'll take a little time.
Yeah, the
Perseverance,
walls
that's
that
for
were
sure.
constructed by the Vieira brothers from Ashfield, they're pretty good. And they were featured in the Gazette a few weeks ago. And, we're pretty confident that should come up pretty good.
Would weed whacking cause less damage to nests and wildlife habitat?
Pardon?
I was just wondering if weed whacking would cause less damage to wildlife habitat in there versus.
Well, the weed whacking we do now is just around the edges of accessible trail.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, it would be
It's
much
too
more
much
labor
work for,
intensive.
you know,
Yeah.
and I'm the only one doing it.
It's a big area.
Yeah, no, it's a huge area, I was just thinking.
Yeah.
Things like
Well, we
that.
got our board member, Tom Lotzenheiser, who also is a biologist for Arcadia, is working on with somebody else, on trying to control all this, you know, we're coming up with a plan, but it's tough to control that stuff.
Yeah, it's-
Yeah, very tough.
So then the last component, just to bring speed on it, is this section from the end of East Green Street into this joint, or this junction here, was wood chips, if you remember it. So what is being proposed is the same type of treatment as the accessible trail around, and adding bituminous concrete pavement at the end, because when the town snow plows in the wintertime, we didn't have much snow last winter, but they're plowing up all the wood chips and the stone that's at the end. And it makes, the stone makes it difficult for somebody that's in a wheelchair to
Yeah, what's
cross over.
happening is,
Right.
to our surprise, is that people are actually coming down from the end of the cul-de-sac with wheelchairs. And so we're gonna try to get this halfway as accessible as possible for them. So we're gonna put stone dust in the path.
Yeah, we won't, in this particular path, we won't be putting this, as we explained last time, we won't be putting the wood edge on the sides. We're gonna be putting an earthen slope to retain the stone, because that is our vehicle access point
Right.
into the site from East Green Street. And so if we just put the boards up, we're just asking for trouble that they're gonna get constantly smashed and crushed by vehicles. Vehicles would have to straddle it.
Right.
There's
And
a
that's
line.
asking a big, for a lot out of them.
But you're gonna put some kind of border where the
Yeah.
crossing is.
Right where the crossing is, we're gonna put sideboards up,
Right, because that's-
against
To
the
keep that
posts.
stable, yeah.
Yeah, and we're gonna clear out the bark mulch that's in there, and it's quite, the contractor put in a real thick, layer of, the wood chips right there, and it's really spongy, but we'll push them all back, we'll reuse them, spread them along the side of the pathway. And we'll put boards up, and then we'll put the stone dust and the stone in between the boards there, and the boards will keep it contained. But at the time, we just didn't have it in the budget to do this pathway extension, between trying to get the CPA money, establishing a budget, and CPA committee saying, well, we'll give you this much, not that much, and type of thing, so we're hoping, to get this approved. Both of these are being requested for funding by CPA. And that's before them right now and everything else.
Yeah, they're pretty favorable.
Yeah, they're extremely favorable.
Do we want them all pushed off to the side, or can we get them washed into the stream?
Well, up past the stream, up in this area right here is where we'll distribute. There really isn't much room down here.
Well, there's that big slope that it
Yeah,
easily
right,
washes
I mean,
out.
we got stone coming out, but we got
Against that
plenty,
slope.
it's all vegetated and everything else, there's no point in just kinda like throwing it all off the
Right,
sides there.
okay, good, that's what I thought.
Yeah, sorry about that, yeah.
Is there excavation required to do the asphalt? Or the-
Only insofar as to just remove the stone
That's there.
that's there now.
So you won't have
And
to dig an additional?
no, we don't see that there's gonna be a major amount of excavation there to put in the 3 inches of asphalt.
Okay.
This is like a driveway apron, glorified driveway apron, 10 feet wide by 10 feet deep.
So I guess the request would be that it would be a minor alteration to the original approved work, and that we would not have to file an additional RDA and/or a notice of intent for these 2 projects in here. Whether the commission would agree with that, or would they want to have a final?
Was there discussion last week?
Yeah, but I'm not sure, I guess we kinda left it, we were all gonna do a site visit and come back and then talk about it.
Right. Yeah, we didn't really,
Yeah.
you know.
So on the bridge, so these were filed as two separate notices of intent, or?
Correct.
This
Well, yeah.
and that?
Yes, this was phase one,
Yeah.
to do the
The
culvert
culvert
crossing.
repair,
Right,
yeah.
the repair, right.
Right.
Now we're on to phase two, which was, we developed the whole trail system in here, we put the
Parking.
shelter up,
Mhm.
we've got the pads for, the picnic areas in here, we developed this crossing in here.
The
Right.
parking area.
And then, this is our kind of like big, the head, at the head of the trailhead right here, developing the parking area and the ramps to get down to the lower grades of where the trail is.
Yeah, I guess my question is the order of conditions for this part still open, or was there a certificate of compliance?
That's closed.
Yeah, that was closed.
So we did that site visit.
Right.
Oh, that's right, we did.
So, when it's
Right.
closed, whether
Yes.
we can just tag it on to a closed project.
Yeah.
Well,
We could
I guess we,
extend
before we
the-
filed this notice of intent for this project, we,
Yeah.
closed out this, because this was just to remove the culverts and
Yeah.
reestablish the stream bed and the channel.
Right.
Yeah,
You know, it wasn't really
And I think there was an issue with having
Two.
two order conditions on the same
open on
property.
one property, on the same property.
yeah.
Right.
So we couldn't do that, so we had to close that one out then?
Our concern is we've got a contractor in there now,
Mhm.
you know, that's doing the work and is familiar with the techniques that we've been employing out there, that we wanted to kind of expedite, these two extensions in here. And it was important for the trust to kind of get the connectivity extended out to Brickyard Brook, you know, and out to the East Green Street, neighborhood area.
Mhm.
That we could get it as part, an amendment as, to the work as part of phase two.
Mhm.
Phase two work that we're on it right now.
Yep. And so then these improvements up there are on a different, those are on a different parcel, but still owned by the trust?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Correct.
And where are the wetlands in that? Oh, so here's,
So,
Yeah.
the brook comes down here, this intermittent stream comes out here,
Mhm.
so it's, you know,
And-
and really the top of this goes down that,
Yeah.
steep embankment
Yeah.
to the brook area.
The brook area is about 30 feet away horizontally, but down a steep slope.
mhm.
That's all heavily vegetated. And we've indicated that we'll put some core logs right at the top of the bank and extend them out, just to protect it, even though we aren't really doing any excavation here per se.
Mhm.
It's just our typical technique with the trail edge.
Mhm. And so this is a wooded area now?
Correct.
But this would
Right.
kind
The
of
edge of-
sneak in?
Right,
Yes.
well, it's
Yeah.
actually, the path is there.
It's established.
Yeah,
This is-
this stub, actually, it ends right here, but the worn trail is still in there, and this is all worn in here and established as a trail.
The only thing that would come out was the one stump in the
Correct.
middle,
Correct,
right?
right.
All
That-
other trees are.
Yeah,
left
it's
in
about
place.
right here. So it's just beyond our property line, this property line right here, just inside the edge of the woods, right in here.
Right,
And we're not proposing to cut any of the trees, we're gonna work around them.
Right.
yep.
And there's another social trail somewhere in here, isn't there, that people have been using to cut through between Butterfield and, Fairfield Trails.
Okay.
It might be, it might not be that well worn,
Maybe,
I was
yeah.
just thinking, it might be worth
Yeah,
doing some
Yeah.
re-veg in there.
I did notice it, it's not as well beaten as this one here.
Right,
That
and
goes
the
down
rock
along
is
the road. Yeah.
there.
Right.
Right. And the stone dust heater is going the whole length of that?
Correct.
Correct.
Yes, right.
And how wide is that?
This
To-
be 5 feet wide, the trail.
Oh, along here?
Yes, except for right here in between the posts.
Oh,
So what we're doing in here between the posts is we're gonna be putting up a wood edging to
okay.
contain, the stone dust and the stone.
Mhm.
Once we get by, it'll neck down, it'll taper down to the 5-foot width and continue
Oh.
on and hook into this
Okay,
here.
I get it.
So that's why we don't have any boards on the side of the 5-foot trail.
Mhm.
We've got earth and berm, so if you need to get in there with a pickup truck or something like that, you're driving on the sides of the dirt on either side of the trail.
Yeah, we couldn't do it, it didn't make any sense to do it right at the railings. So it's just, we kept the stone dust material monolithic all the way to the railing.
Yeah.
That way there wouldn't be any cumbersome try to negotiate with a vehicle through the railings.
Yeah, okay, I'm sure you explained this all before.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's, you weren't here, yeah. But right after the railings, we'll neck it down
Yeah.
to the 5-foot wide trail.
Yeah.
That will continue on and hook up with the loop.
Okay.
And
And so,
this is where the culvert is, that's the weak spot there,
right,
I go over there with my truck all the time, maintenance. There have been dump trucks going through there too, because we had trees removed over there, tree cutting this spring, and we had to bring some big equipment, so we wanna make sure that's pretty stable.
and so when you say, so 5-foot wide trail with berms to hold it in on
Yes.
either side?
Yeah, there'll be a shoulder
Shoulder.
that'll be built up
Yep,
to contain the stone and everything else.
yep, and they'll just vegetate or
Yeah,
whatever.
right,
Yeah.
well, yes, we'll have the contractor hydroseed both sides of the trail vegetated all and everything
Yeah,
else,
okay.
Ultimately, it'll be slow work.
yes.
It'll be very stable, lots of roots. Are
Yeah.
you doing anything to remove all this poison ivy that's in there? Not part of the plan.
Not part of the plan, like I say, again, there's always concern on the trust part, about, protecting the general public, because they do invite them onto their properties for obvious reasons, that they do as much as they can, with controlling invasive species and the poison ivy and everything else.
Are you trying to get started with this before you get CPA funding?
Yeah, well, I'll
Probably not.
speak, while I'm working with Marty,
Marty's ready to go.
he's already given the contractor kind of like the go-ahead on this, and that the trust would kind of back it up.
Okay.
But we've gotten a lot of confidence from the CPA that we'll get the funding and everything else. It's
Well, the
just a little bit
CPA
late.
decision isn't out until August, and then it takes a while after that to
Yeah.
get the funding.
Right.
So I'm just trying to, procedurally, I'm not sure what the right thing to do here is as far as tacking this onto the previous plan and tacking it onto a plan that's closed out. And that's why if you wait till another meeting, that might be better for us to, speak with Melissa on it.
That's fine, I think that's fine. That's why we said, adding it to this notice of intent
Right.
for this whole project makes most sense, because this one is closed.
Right.
You can't reopen that.
Right.
So I don't know what other people think.
Yeah, I mean, there's, I'll speak for the construction process in here. We just would like to keep it going as expediently as possible. As you may well know, it's kind of taken a long time to get to this point, and we're at the cusp of it really being, kind of getting done, and trying to get them to kind of continue and execute these trail extensions. at
The
same
trust will
time.
have to fund this, our own
Before the
pocket.
CPA money
Yeah,
is
right.
available, yeah.
Then we get reimbursed.
Right, yeah, I think the trust is, on behalf of Marty, they're kind of committed that to Pioneer, that.
And this parking lot area, and, the last reports that I did, I would anticipate either this week or next week being completed. They're moving.
They got shrubs in there and everything.
Yeah, they were spreading topsoil. It will take them a half a day to do all the hydro seeding, and they've got.
The rain garden, there's 2,000 plants within the.
I'll read from 2,000.
It was yeah.
Oh, you cut back, Bill?
Yeah, right. Then Bill's design of the rain garden, but the rain garden, the vegetation's all in there. Because of the dry temperature, they've got a water truck on site. They've been watering.
Yeah,
So it's moving along.
Today they were gonna get the handrails for the ramps.
Okay.
And this week, we're gonna be doing the paved ramps and seeding them with a pea stone and embedding them into the asphalt so they look like a kind of a little bit more of a rustic type of surface.
Forward.
And they'll do the handicap parking spaces and the apron into the parking area as well. And that's the other, we wanted to kind of, while they were doing that paving, do this paving down here, try to kind of work it all hand in hand.
Yeah.
For me, I'm for the project, but it's more procedurally, I'm not sure I should answer that, which way we should go.
Right.
Yeah.
As far as what to file.
Right.
I mean,
That's my only concern.
If this was still open, then.
Yeah, it might be easier.
Then I definitely wouldn't have a problem with it. And I don't really have a problem with it now. It's just, going back to that other file and, having the closed out conditions, and having it not show, what it's gonna end up as. I guess I'd like to hear what Melissa's.
That's my only concern. I
Yeah,
don't want to make a decision.
Yeah,
That's, I'm not.
Yeah, well, we're hoping that maybe it can get tacked on to the
Yeah.
phase 2 work.
Okay.
yeah,
But we don't know if that's okay, so.
yeah. But
So
that is-
you're meeting on the 11th then?
Right.
When Melissa's here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the next meeting.
I guess knowing that other part, is all disturbed and used as a trail.
Oh, yeah.
Right, it's been an existing trail and well-established for years. How long?
Oh, yeah, well, since,
10, 20 years?
not that long. 15.
Yeah, time flies.
Time flies, I can't keep track of it. I can't keep track of my birthday.
Is this something we would make a motion on, or is this something we would just?
The screen would be off.
Well, I think we can make a motion to add it on to the current one, just.
Between Oak Street and East.
Can we make a
Yeah.
conditional motion?
I mean, again.
Condition that's actually legal? Should we just
Well,
make a
within,
motion?
I believe within your order of conditions, if there's any changes or modifications to the plans,
Yeah,
we come back before the commission and review them. And if the commission feels that it's minor
I think that's East.
revisions to the plans,
yeah.
um,
Yeah, I guess I'm just wondering if it has to be something that's gotta be in the minutes, or if we can just all say, we don't have a problem with it, we'll let Melissa get back to you tomorrow and say, go
Oh,
ahead and
yeah.
do it, or
Well,
whatever,
I,
Okay, because it could be something that just shows up in the minutes as,
Right.
okay, yeah, the conditions changed and there's no motion required, just so they're gonna do a little more work in this area, or they ran across a problem on a project and they had
Yeah.
to change the location of the trail, we wouldn't make them refile for that.
Alright, alright. I guess let's assume it'll be on the agenda for next time, unless you hear.
Okay.
Alright,
Okay.
that's
Good.
Does anyone have any questions, or does anyone think it has to for sure be something that we, do at a meeting and move on?
I just don't know, that's why.
Yeah,
I don't think so, but.
okay.
Gary Golis, he lives next door, and he keeps a sharp eye on
Keep
it.
an eye on you.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Alright, okay.
okay, good.
All right, thanks, guys.
Yep.
John, I have a question for you, actually. I went on the Pomeroy Meadow parcel yesterday.
Yeah.
It looked like some trees had been cut recently, and I didn't know if they were.
Trees have been cut.
Yeah, I didn't know if they were downed trees that somebody just cut up to get them out of the way, or
There
if they
were two
were.
huge trees, one of
Yeah,
them
big
was an oak
oaks.
and one was a pine.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, we had a work party.
okay.
Me and another person.
Yeah, right.
What a job.
Uh,
Took us almost 2 hours to get those trees out of the way.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, then we had to do a lot of weed whacking and overhang, cutting back and everything. One of the
Gotcha.
deck, observation decks was inundated with innovations, we had to cut back to, so, still ongoing project here.
Yep, sounds good.
What grew on?
This is on, in the conservation area that's right off the end of Hall Street.
Oh,
It's
okay.
down the Manhattan River.
You got the swallowworm, you got the rose, multiple rose.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. I wasn't sure if it was you guys, if it was some resident, something like that.
Some eager
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Yep.
I gotta eat supper.
Thanks,
Yeah.
John, I
See
can
ya.
email Marty.
Huh?
I can email Marty in the morning and tell
Yeah.
him I went, or
Yeah, all right.
let him know too.
All right, Willis and Northampton School.
Last one.
Yes, huh?
Jeez.
So I guess for the record, Chuck McCullough and Jeff Tannen are here, along with myself and Bill Cannon. The cross-country course construction is starting up. I emailed you information required within the order of conditions for the nomination of the myself as the compliance officer. The signatures from Jeff Tannett, myself, and Darren Upton from AJ Vigilio, certifying to the terms and conditions of the order of conditions, which is part of the order of conditions. And I also did a pre-construction inspection with some pictures so that you can see what it looks like under this phase. This phase is only the bridge and the chute, which goes up the hill on the other side, and the gabion walls that need to be constructed on either side. We also, part of the email was the construction sequence from Virgilio and construction plans for the bridge, which was another condition within the order of conditions for pre-construction. The erosion control barriers were installed today by Virgilio, and we'd like to schedule a pre-construction inspection, Jay.
All right, no problem.
You're welcome to either
Do you want
get
me
a hold.
there?
You can do it on your own, or get a hold of Jeff or myself, whatever is easiest for you.
Okay.
Okay. Let me think. So, was it the footing for the piers?
The bridge?
Yeah, the bridge piers.
Yes.
Those ended up being the
It's
size,
huge.
if not,
Yeah, huge.
you know, as large or smaller than as permitted, basically. No increased impacts or anything like that?
No,
Okay.
no.
No, it's all within
The
what
footprint of
was
the, what was approved.
shown on the plans.
Okay,
Right.
all right.
Got that right, at least.
Yeah, right.
What else?
Well, no, I mean, you know, I had to sit down with the engineers and, you know, I show them, this is the way I was conceptualizing where you might be and everything else, and lo and behold, it's where it fell. So it worked out.
All right. So I think that was, I forget if we,
Right.
if that was resolved as part of the hearing, if that was.
Yeah, and so those plans I did email you,
Okay.
those detailed plans
Yeah.
showing that work, as well as I can give you copies of them both if you want them, Jay, for,
No, I'll just keep it electronic.
Okay.
You got a small set?
yeah, I got a
Yeah,
11 by
small set,
17.
yeah, Sure.
I'll give you these. So these are the details of the bridge. This
I'll take
is-
a ride out tomorrow sometime. If
Okay.
something comes up, I'll call
Yeah.
Jeff.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're gonna
Yeah.
be,
Yeah, contractor will be on
Be on
site,
site.
so,
this is a phasing, the plan.
Waiting
and
for you.
as well as the narrative for the phasing. And it's all highlighted in the work areas that are gonna be done. So that, just to familiarize everyone, this is just the bridge, crossing, and the chute coming up the hill, and the gabion walls on either side, under this phase. Wilson will be doing the rest of the pathway with their own staff. Because of the dry summer we're having so far, we would like to do the wetland replication up on Park Street site
Okay.
in the fall, because if we do it now, it's in the middle of a field, it's gonna be like everyone's lawn,
yeah.
brown.
A site, yeah, with
You know.
no water on site
Yeah,
or
right.
anyway.
To water it, so that would be part of the, we're incorporating those replication areas into the solar plans, so that they're all incorporated into one as part of that filing, but doing that replication in the fall for that. So we got these plans to give to you also.
All right, beautiful.
All right.
Thanks.
And I think Virgilio, somebody from Virgilio will be there, probably there tomorrow too.
Yes.
Mike?
Yeah, and we have staff out there
Oh,
all the
okay.
time.
Foreman's name is Mike from AJ Virgilio. He's on site. Or Jeff or myself,
Yeah, no problem.
if you have any questions.
I'll go through in the morning.
Perfect.
Perfect, great.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, I think I'm done.
This is Mark's meeting, is that right?
I said to my wife, I said, they're gonna hate me tonight. All right, well, thank you.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Have a good night.
Have a good night, thank you. We don't have any minutes to approve under general business, so there are a few random correspondent things here, but I'm not sure if they...
The minutes had also the aquatic vegetation management.
Oh, yeah.
They're gonna do it on the 6th.
Oh,
Yeah,
I skipped that, yeah, okay, so I skipped that by accident.
That project is gonna, that work is gonna happen on the 6th.
Okay.
They're gonna be, they posted the signs, or they say they posted the signs, I haven't got it to
I have
confirm.
not seen any signs.
All right.
Which part of the pond do they do? Do we know?
Doing a few different.
Yeah, closer down to the end where it's fed from the brooks.
There's
There's
something.
other places,
Those are sheer ends.
there's other years all over, but,
Yeah, and they were supposed to sign close to the boardwalk in the cemetery.
yeah, there's
I'm
a
pretty
couple of places in the boardwalk or the cemetery that they're gonna try to do.
Yeah.
I got the big book at home of locations, but.
Did they notify residents or is it strictly the signs?
sure. I think we said just this.
Yeah, I think it's just the signs, and they have to notify police, fire, planning, conservation.
Because they'll get all the calls.
Yeah. Hold on.
How long does it take for it to dissipate?
I think it's very fast. I think it's like a topical application thing that, you know, that dilutes very quickly after it's
I
applied.
didn't seem to be too much of a concern.
You made it
Yeah.
sound like it wasn't a big deal, that's all, applied directly to the plan.
No, I'm gonna find the email here so I can
Yeah.
read you
I
what
would
he
know.
said.
I know. The one from Manchester, my list, I'm a little bit more concerned about it than.
She doesn't want to be out on the pond at the same time.
Right.
As we work with her, and we have to do the same thing.
No.
Yeah, so that makes me think, oh, maybe these chemicals are a bigger deal, but maybe.
All right, herbicide application will take place on July 6th, starting at 10 a.m. DEP signs, water restriction sign, will go up in the next couple of days. I'll take pics and send them to you. Also took pics of the pond at the 4 DO test sites last week. I will send you those pics as well. I would like to take the DO readings this Friday with backup date for Saturday. I'll do my best to get you the results the same day.
Like within 10 days. Wasn't there something about it needing to be before the application had to be earlier in the morning because of temperatures? Am I remembering that wrong?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
something like that.
I trust Gary to do,
Yeah,
you know, he's got the,
He's the guy.
yeah,
Alright.
he's got the best interest of the pond in mind, yeah.
Correspondence-wise, there's a couple zoning board changes, so I guess I gotta look and see if this is anything near any wetland. But I assume it has to be a building permit going forward at some point. Art gallery studio space, I don't think that's anything that. There's another zoning board, for Park Hill Orchard is doing something. Special permit under section 8.5 of the zoning ordinance. trying to do some kind of apartment thing maybe.
Yeah.
Did we already see this? We already saw this.
So this one goes in the basket.
I think we saw this once
I don't
before in a
remember.
different iteration.
Okay.
We're just doing a, accessory apartment or something. It's not, they're not changing the building at all, it's just changing.
No, it says site plan approval. What is that? I don't know what that means really. There's no site plan, no.
I approve.
That makes it hard to.
So what do we do?
Building in the. What's this from Clark Street? Oh, I guess this is their residence, this is the Clark Street. There's no, are there wetlands next to the Parker Orchard that we need to think about?
Yes, there are wetlands.
Right.
On which side?
As I'm aware, we're doing this.
It's on the
But officially,
north side.
Melissa has to answer this on a building permit application, sign off on it, so she's got.
Oh, okay.
She would have to confirm, but I don't know if she has a copy of this or not, or whether I just leave this back in the basket.
What's the date on that?
This Thursday, June 16th, when it was approved, but I don't know if they've submitted a building permit yet or not. Everything is done electronically, I
It's
think.
just the zoning review.
Maybe I should make a copy of this and bring it, get it to her tomorrow.
And so this will be another one that probably will be building permit that she'll have to answer.
Which one?
No, we don't do that.
Oh, yeah.
But this Cottage Street isn't within our jurisdiction, right?
What?
The other one, that art gallery approval, it's Cottage Street, which isn't, there's no.
Where's Cottage Street? That's the one right over here.
I mean, I guess it's right on National Line.
Yeah, and the
But
river
if-
goes underneath the.
But if it's something that's happening internal to a building, they're making an art gallery out of it, it's not.
But
And there's no
it's
site plan.
Site plan approval. But there's no site plan.
Okay.
So, so it's hard to.
And then there's an RDA here for the Manhattan Rail Trail to repave sections by Williston, which we've talked about in the past, but I don't know if she needs to have this to get on an agenda.
Did you make a copy in Jessica's office?
No, goes
As
this
long
way
as-
and then left and then left. Two lefts.
Do you have your names? Are you
Sure,
gonna-
go ahead, I mean, I think it's,
No.
Nothing else is open.
Oh, come.
Unless you did it in the bathroom.
I did not do it in the bathroom.
Oh, I thought it was back. Sorry,
All right.
Lauren. This is invoice for net fees.
okay.
Oh, yeah, leave that in the basket. Kevin didn't see it.
Leave it in the basket, but then should I put these other things that, you know, this pipeline thing back in the basket too? Because I'm sure it's something we're trying to get on the agenda.
Didn't we get an email about that today?
I thought we did.
So,
Let's see if we got it electronically.
We did get it. Yeah, I got that printed. We
You got it,
that.
okay,
Yeah.
so let's put that back in the basket here. And then there's this, did we get anything on RDA for paving of the rail trail,
No, it's not.
city of Easthampton? Not really. I can come into her and see Jessica and ask her what we should do with some of this stuff then.
yeah.
What do we do with that? I'm not
Your
familiar with the
Mm-hmm.
property.
did that come in?
It just came in, it was in an envelope.
What's the date on it?
It was in a certified mail envelope.
It was a little envelope, it was a little envelope, wasn't it?
Yeah, I must have grabbed it with something else.
I stuffed it in, it came in that.
Certified mail. This is paid June 18th.
We can talk to Jessica tomorrow about that. If she's in, I don't think she was in today. The ghost town.
So it may have been a while ago.
Peaceful Valley Farm, what's
I
that?
don't know what it is, but it's like, looks like it's got
Mail
some kind of
address is on
conservation.
Burt Street. You know where Burt Street is?
I don't know what Bird Street is. I've got no idea.
Just do what what's the address?
Mail address 1 Burt Street, Easthampton.
What were the addresses of Jessica, of the site plan? Or what were those?
36 Briggs Street,
Were those building permits?
yes. Special permits.
More special permits, or?
Yeah.
Zoning variance, right?
We have the Bird Street. Westhampton.
Well, it says that's a mail address, so maybe that's not the property.
Take
It's
that
sent
to-
from 315 now,
Let me
right?
take it out to
That's what we-
Jessica.
Something very fishy about that. That needs to be bird dogged.
Well,
A handwritten letter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
by certified mail.
Dear sir.
I mean, if it's like a notification about a sale over which we have some kind of right of first refusal, there needs to be like a 30-day notice or something like that, you know, or something. There's all kinds of stuff. If we have a conservation restriction on it, you know, there's all kinds of complicated things that may need to happen.
36 Briggs and 82 Park Hill.
Right, and special permit decision, special permit
Yeah.
decision, okay.
What did you say that was name again?
Green.
Yeah,
I thought it was Bran.
What did you think?
I thought it was just Bran.
I've
Bran.
heard it as brain.
Brain, maybe.
Yeah, all right.
Motion to adjourn?
You can just say, as the chair,
We're out.
on a non-controversial
I don't.
thing, you could say, if there are no objections.
If there are no